Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're uncovering the hidden forces that dictate the prices of, well, literally every single good you buy and sell. Have you ever wondered why a sudden heat wave makes the price of air conditioners skyrocket? Or why certain rare paintings cost more than entire private islands? It all comes down to one of the most powerful, fundamental engines of our entire economy. We're talking about the law of supply. So let's jump right in and decode the mechanics of the market. Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll cover the core law of supply, then what it means to be holding the world constant, and finally, we'll look at some real-world rule breakers. All right, part one, the core law of supply and Professor Marshall's definitive rule. To really ground this abstract concept, let's look at something tangible, like a mango farm. In economics, we actually have to distinguish between two things, stock and supply. Stock is the total potential quantity of a commodity that's available. Say a farmer has a total harvest of 4,000 kilograms of mangoes. That entire harvest, that's the stock. But the supply? Supply is a relative term. It's the specific amount that farmer is actually willing and able to offer for sale in the market at a given price and at a given time. If the going price is just too low, they might only bring 1,000 kilograms to the market. So without stock, supply is literally impossible. But your stock is almost always going to exceed the actual supply. And this brings us to the golden rule, introduced by Professor Alfred Marshall way back in his groundbreaking 1890 book, Principles of Economics. I want you to listen really closely to the phrasing he uses here. Other things being constant, higher the price of a commodity, more is the quantity supplied, and lower the price of a commodity, less is the quantity supplied. Now, that first phrase, other things being constant, is absolutely crucial, and we're going to come back to it very soon. But the core takeaway is this direct relationship. As the price goes up, the willingness to supply goes right up with it. Notice how this individual supply curve, the line we call SS, slopes perfectly upwards from left to right. It's basically a visual representation of the profit motive. As we trace this line up, we're essentially watching a seller look at a higher market price and say, yep, it is absolutely worth my time and resources to produce and sell more of this product. So the crucial point here is this dynamic, split-screen reality of the marketplace. Picture it like this. On one side, as the market price climbs steadily upward, the supply-quantity curve eagerly climbs right along with it to maximize revenue. But on the flip side, as the market price drops, the supply volume retreats. Producers just hold back their stock. The math is beautifully simple, but, is the world ever beautifully simple? That takes us right to part two, holding the world constant, or creating the theoretical vacuum. Remember Professor Marshall's caveat? Other things being constant. To make the law of supply work perfectly, economists basically have to build a theoretical vacuum. Imagine a giant digital hand reaching down and setting a massive dial labeled other things being constant. For that supply curve to slide smoothly up and down, 6 key variables have to remain absolutely frozen. We have to assume a steady cost of production because, hey, if raw materials get more expensive, supply shrinks regardless of price. We also must assume unchanging traditional technology, perfectly normal seasonal weather conditions for agriculture, stable government tax policies, unmoving transport costs, and absolutely zero expectations that market prices might suddenly shift tomorrow. The law only holds true if this entire control panel remains completely untouched. Which brings us to part three, real-world rule breakers, where we shatter the glass house. Out here in the messy, real world, that constant framework completely shatters. The weather changes, governments raise taxes, and human beings are, well, incredibly unpredictable. So what happens when the product being supplied is human labor? The rules totally change, and we get what economists call the backward-bending supply curve. It turns out, more money doesn't actually mean we're willing to work an infinite number of hours. Let's walk through the math of an exhausted worker to see exactly how this happens. Step 1. A worker happily accepts an increasing hourly wage. Let's say their wage goes from $100 to $200 an hour. They are highly motivated. They increase their shifts from 5 hours to 7 hours. But then comes step 2. They cross a critical wage threshold. Suddenly, they're offered $300 an hour. According to the law of supply, they should work 8 or 9 hours, right? Actually, no. Step 3 kicks in. The worker now makes enough money to live comfortably, and they realize they value a nap or just spending time with their family way more than that extra cash. They actually drop their hours down to 6. The desire for leisure completely overpowers the desire for a double shift, and the supply curve literally bends backward. Here's another real-world rule breaker: desperation and decay. Imagine a struggling farmer facing immediate cash distress, maybe to pay off a looming debt. Or imagine a dealer holding melting blocks of ice or gallons of highly perishable milk. In these scenarios, the threat of immediate total loss forces people to abandon the law of supply entirely. They are not going to wait around for the price to climb. They will dump their entire stock into the market at rock bottom prices just to salvage whatever they possibly can. Which brings us to the total opposite end of the spectrum. I want to ask you a question. How much money would it take to supply a priceless, rare artifact? If a billionaire comes along and offers 10 times the market value, can the market miraculously supply more of it?
The answer, of course, is no way. Some things simply cannot be manufactured, no matter how astronomically the market price climbs. When a collector holds a rare historical artifact, an antique coin, or a painting by a long-deceased artist, that supply is strictly fixed. The law of supply states that higher prices should pull more supply into the market. But with rare goods, the supply is perfectly inelastic. That means it cannot budge, no matter the price. It's a completely unbreakable ceiling. History simply cannot be mass-produced.
So, we've journeyed all the way from Professor Marshall's pristine, upward-sloping curves through the frozen variables of economic theory, right down to the messy human realities of melting ice, priceless antiques, and the very relatable desire to just take a day off. Economics isn't just about money, it's a study of human choices. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. When it comes to your own time, your own energy, and your own money, at what price does your personal supply curve bend backward? Thanks for exploring this with me today. Keep questioning the forces around you and keep learning.